I'm Ellie, 24 years old, and this is the story of how I thought I could fix everything: my family, my love, my life, only to watch it all unravel in ways I never imagined. I've always been the one holding things together, ever since I was a kid. My parents' house was a battlefield of unspoken grudges, and I was the peacemaker, the translator between their sharp silences and my little brother's wide-eyed confusion. Dad would storm out after a fight, Mom would retreat to her study, and I'd be there, picking up the pieces, making sure Tommy didn't think the world was ending. It wasn't easy, but I got good at it. Too good, maybe. I thought I could handle anything, keep everyone steady, even when my own heart started to wobble. Growing up, our home looked perfect from the outside. Big windows, manicured lawn, the kind of place people drive by and envy. But inside, it was cold. Not the temperature, though Mom kept the thermostat at a crisp 68 degrees, but the feeling. Dad's a lawyer, all stern looks and clipped words, and Mom's a doctor, precise and distant, like she's diagnosing you even when she's just asking about your day. They loved us, I know that, but it was a love wrapped in expectations, a love that came with a rule book I didn't sign up for. Tommy was too young to notice, but I felt it every time they looked at me, like I was a project they needed to finish. I was 12 when I first realized I was the glue. Dad had yelled about some case he'd lost, Mom had snapped back about his temper, and I'd found Tommy hiding under the kitchen table, clutching his stuffed bear. I crawled under there with him, told him stories about pirates until the shouting stopped. After that, it became my job, not official, but mine all the same. I'd smooth things over, crack a joke to make Dad laugh, ask Mom about her patience so she'd soften. By the time I hit my teens, I could sense a fight brewing before they even opened their mouths. It was exhausting, but it worked. The house stayed standing, and I told myself that was enough. Then came Jake. I met him at 23, right after I'd graduated college and moved back home to figure out my next step. He was fixing my car, some rattling thing I'd ignored too long, and he grinned at me through the grease on his face, like he didn't care about the mess. That laugh of his, deep and warm, hit me like a wave, washing away the tension I'd carried for years. He wasn't like anyone I'd known. Not polished, not perfect, just real. I fell for him fast, too fast maybe, but it felt right. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about fixing someone else, I was just living. But Jake didn't fit the picture my parents had painted for me. They'd always talked about the kind of guy I'd end up with, someone with a degree framed on the wall, a tie in his closet, a future they could brag about at their dinner parties. Jake was none of that. He was a mechanic, hands rough from work, dreams small but honest. I didn't care. I thought I could bring him into my world, show them he was enough. I was wrong. This isn't just about him, though. It's about me, and the mess we made trying to fit into a life that was never really mine to begin with. Jake wasn't what my parents dreamed of for me. I knew it the second I mentioned him over dinner one night, casually dropping his name like it wouldn't start a war. Mom's fork paused midair, and Dad's eyebrows shot up, the way they did when he was about to cross-examine someone. A mechanic? Mom said, her voice tight, like she'd swallowed something sour. Dad didn't say anything at first, just chewed his steak slower, but I could feel the judgment rolling off him. They're old school, Dad with his law firm suits, Mom with her stethoscope and crisp white coat, and they'd spent my whole life sketching out this perfect future for me. A husband with a corner office, a house like theirs, kids who'd go to the right schools. Jake didn't fit that frame. I didn't care what they thought, at least, that's what I told myself. Jake was different. He'd show up at my door with that grin, his hands still smelling like engine oil, and tell me about his day like it was some grand adventure. He'd fixed a guy's truck just before it broke down on the highway, or he'd spent an hour tinkering with an old bike until it purred again. His pride wasn't loud or polished. It was quiet, real, and it made my chest ache in a way I couldn't explain. When he laughed, it was this deep, rolling sound that drowned out the silence I'd grown up with. I loved him for it, for how he made me feel alive instead of just useful. But my parents couldn't see that. They met him a few months in, at a dinner I'd begged them to host. I'd prepped Jake, told him to wear a clean shirt, skip the work boots, but he still looked out of place at our polished dining table. He tried, though. He shook Dad's hand, complimented Mom's cooking, even asked about her latest surgery. It wasn't enough. Later, as Jake and I washed dishes in the kitchen, Mom pulled me aside. "He's not enough, Ellie," she said, her voice low but sharp, like a scalpel. "You deserve someone who can keep up with you, with us." I argued back, told her she didn't know him, that he was good and kind and mine. She just shook her head, like I was a kid who didn't get it. Dad piled on the next day. "He's a nice guy, sure, but nice doesn't build a future," he said over coffee, his tone final, like a judge's ruling. Their words stuck, though, burrowing under my skin. I started noticing things, how Jake's jeans were frayed at the hems, how he didn't know the difference between a Cabernet and a Merlot. Dumb stuff I'd never cared about before. One night, we were at his place, sprawled on his beat-up couch, and he was teasing me about something silly. I was tired, raw from another lecture from Mom, and I snapped. "You're not that ugly, just not for my parents," I said, half laughing, meaning it as a dig at them. But Jake's face changed, his grin faded, his eyes went dark. I'd meant it as a joke, a way to vent, but it landed like a punch. He didn't say much after that, just nodded and turned on the TV. I tried to brush it off, but the air felt heavier. That's when I saw it. The crack between us wasn't just about my parents anymore. I'd let their voices into my head, and now they were in his too. It wasn't just a fight. It was the start of something breaking, something I didn't know how to fix. After that night, Jake started pulling away. It wasn't obvious at first, just a missed call here, a shorter text there, but I felt it like a thread slowly unraveling. I kept replaying that stupid moment on his couch, my words hanging between us. "You're not that ugly, just not for my parents." I'd laughed it off, but he hadn't. I thought he was just hurt, licking his wounds, and I figured I'd give him space to come around. He'd always been steady like that, the one who'd pull me back when I got too wound up. But this time, he didn't bounce back. Instead, he changed. I noticed it a week later when he showed up to take me out. His usual faded t-shirt was gone, replaced by a crisp button-down, the kind he'd never owned before. His hair was combed neat, not the messy tangle I loved running my fingers through. "Got a bonus," he said when I asked, shrugging like it was nothing. But then I heard he'd picked up extra shifts at the shop, staying late to work on side projects. A friend mentioned he'd been talking about night classes, something about getting a certification, maybe even college later. I was stunned. Jake had always been happy with his wrench and his toolbox. He'd never cared about degrees or desks. I thought he was doing it for me, to prove he could fit into my parents' world. I was wrong. Then I saw her. Mia. It was a Saturday, and I'd gone to grab coffee at this little place downtown. There they were, across the street, sitting outside a cafe. She was laughing, her head tilted back, and Jake was grinning at her, the same grin he used to save for me. She was everything my parents would have loved, poised, with a sleek ponytail and a blazer that screamed professional. I stood there, frozen, my latte burning my hand through the cup, and it hit me like a brick. Now he's chasing someone better than me. Not just better for them, for him too. She looked like the kind of girl who'd never say something dumb like I had, who'd never make him feel small. I didn't storm over or yell. I couldn't. My legs felt like lead, and my chest was caving in. I just turned around, walked home, and let the tears come. I'd pushed him away, I knew that, but seeing him with her made it real. He wasn't just healing from my words, he was moving on, building something new without me. I kept picturing them together, her fitting so easily into the life my parents wanted for me, the life I'd never wanted until I saw him wanting it too. It hurt more than I could have imagined, like losing him twice, once to my family's rules, and now to her. That night, I curled up on my bed, still in my parents' house, staring at the ceiling. I didn't call him or text. What would I say? Come back? I'm sorry? I'd already said too much, and he'd already heard enough. I told myself I'd let him go, that he deserved someone who didn't carry my baggage, someone who wouldn't let other people's voices drown out her own. My family's pressure had won, twisting him into someone I didn't recognize and leaving me alone with the pieces. I'd lost him to it, to them, to her, and the worst part was, I couldn't even blame him for running. Losing Jake broke something in me, a deep, jagged crack I couldn't ignore. I'd spent years holding my family together, swallowing their expectations, but seeing him with Mia, seeing him chase her, lit a fire I didn't know I had. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about them, my parents, and the weight they'd piled on me since I was old enough to understand their looks. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Mom's voice, "He's not enough," Ellie, and Dad's, calm and final, "Nice doesn't build a future." They'd won, hadn't they? Jake was gone, chasing their version of better, and I was still here, drowning in their perfect house. The next morning, I snapped. I stormed into their pristine living room, where Mom was reading a medical journal and Dad was sipping his coffee. Ty already nodded for the day. "You ruined this," I screamed, my voice shaking so hard it didn't sound like mine. "You and your stupid rules, your stupid plans, you drove him away." Mom put her journal down, her face tight, and Dad just stared, his mug frozen halfway to his mouth. I didn't stop. Years of it poured out, how they judged every friend I'd ever had, how they'd made me feel like I was failing if I didn't match their blueprint, how they'd turned me into their little fixer while they tore each other apart. "I'm done," I said, tears burning my eyes. "You don't get to control me anymore." Mom tried to argue. "We just want what's best for you, Ellie," she said, her voice sharp, like she was lecturing a patient. "That boy wasn't." I cut her off. "His name is Jake, and he was mine until you got in my head." Dad finally spoke, low and steady. "You're overreacting." That was it, the dismissal, the way he always made me feel small. I turned and walked out, their voices fading behind me. By the end of the week, I'd packed a bag and left, crashing on my friend Sarah's couch. I blocked their numbers, told Tommy I'd call him later, and cut them off cold. I needed out. I couldn't stop thinking about Jake, though. Sarah would mention him sometimes. She'd heard he and Mia were getting serious, spotted them at a movie theater once. Each update was a knife twist, carving out a little more of me. I'd lie on that lumpy couch at night, staring at the ceiling, picturing him laughing with her, building a life I'd never fit into. It hurt, but I told myself I was free now, free from him, from them, from the suffocating weight of that house. I'd rebuild, start over, be someone new. But I wasn't free. I was hollow. I'd check my phone sometimes, hoping for a text from him, some sign he missed me, but it never came. He was gone, and I'd pushed him there. Days turned into weeks, and I kept moving, new job, new routines, anything to fill the space he'd left. I'd walk past that cafe where I'd seen them, half expecting to spot him, half dreading it. I told myself I didn't need him, didn't need my parents' approval, didn't need anyone. But the truth gnawed at me. I wasn't free, I was running. Running from the guilt, from the part of me that still loved him, from the family I'd left behind. I thought I'd escaped their grip, but I was wrong. The fallout wasn't just with them, it was with me, and I didn't know how to face it. Months later, I'm at a bar, nursing a beer, and trying to piece myself back together. Sarah dragged me out, said I'd been a ghost too long, and I didn't argue. The place is dim, crowded, the kind of noise that drowns out your thoughts if you let it. I'm staring at the label on my bottle, peeling it off in strips, when the door swings open and Jake walks in. Alone. No Mia, no sharp clothes, just him, in a faded jacket, looking tired, like the weight of the world's been sitting on his shoulders. My heart stops, then slams into my ribs. I want to run, but my legs won't move. He sees me. There's a flicker in his eyes, surprise, maybe regret, and then he's walking over. I brace myself, expecting awkward small talk or worse, but he just sits down across from me, no preamble. "Mia was never better than you," he says, his voice rough, like he's been holding it in too long. "She was just easier." I freeze, the words sinking in slow. He keeps going, staring at the table like it's easier than meeting my eyes. After what you said, I thought I had to prove something. To you, to them, to myself. Mia fit that. She was simple, no fight, no mess. But it wasn't real. I can't breathe. All those months, I'd pictured him happy with her, moving on while I fell apart. Now he's here, unraveling it all. I didn't want your parents' approval, Ellie, he says, finally looking up. I wanted yours. His eyes are raw, and I feel mine sting, tears I didn't know I had left spilling over. I'd spent so long blaming them, Mom, Dad, their suffocating rules, but now I see it. That night on his couch, my stupid, careless words, "You're not that ugly," just not for my parents, they'd cut him deeper than I'd ever realized. I'd pushed him away as much as they had, maybe more. I want to say something, but my throat's tight, choked with everything I've buried. He keeps talking, softer now. I chased her to feel worth something, but it didn't work. I missed you, the real you, not the one trying to fix everything. My chest aches, and I'm crying harder because he's right. I'd been so busy fixing my family, fixing us, that I'd lost myself. I'd turned him into a project too, just like they had with me. The realization hits like a wave, and I'm drowning in it. Not just their flaws, but mine. We don't fall back into each other's arms. It's not that kind of night. Instead, we talk, hours of it, spilling out everything we'd held back. How he'd felt small under my parents' stares, how I'd let their voices into my head, how we'd both run from the mess instead of facing it. It's messy, raw. No neat bow to tie it up. We don't get back together. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But there's something there, a thread we don't cut. The surprise isn't some fairy tale fix. It's that I see myself clearer than I ever have. I'd blamed them for breaking us, but I'd had a hand in it too. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the healing starts, not with him, not with them, but with me, sitting here, finally letting the pieces fall where they will. Subscribe to our channel for powerful real stories that touch your heart. Join a community where emotions run deep and every story brings a new perspective. Don't miss out. Hit that bell for weekly updates.